Hey y'all. So I'm going to do an oracle reading right now. And this is for our new moon that we're going to have. Let me see, for me in the Pacific time zone, it's going to be super late tonight, March 31st, 2022. And for some of you guys on the East Coast, it's going to be super early in the morning on, April 1st. So April Fools, right? Anyway, I'm trying to ignore that energy in this reading, but it might come through. We'll see. What are we deceiving ourselves on? No, but actually Chiron is going to be involved in this energy. You've got Saturn with, I think, the ruler of it, because it's an Aries new moon. So you look at, I follow people who do this and it feels right. You look at the ruler, Aries, and the ruler of Aries is Mars, and Mars is like conjoined almost, or, with Saturn. So that's kind of like a restricting kind of energy. So I think I've said this in previous videos, not exactly like, ready at the gates and they're going to bust open with energy. Sometimes there's a little bit of a hesitation, an evaluation, kind of a decision point on something. That's what it feels like. That's what I know personally has come up to me. So yeah, I had to really make a decision about travel in my life, and so I made a decision about it, and it was kind of hard, and it really made me look at my values, which is Venus. So anyway, Venus square the nose was recently too. I love associating anything in my life with a planetary movement. My husband makes fun of me at times. We'll get him there. Anyways, wherever you are in the astrological belief system, you're welcome here. It's fine. You can laugh at me too. I'm not taking that too harsh. But it is something I take hints from, right? And so everybody knows I have grounded myself into the earth. I have protected myself, cleansed my space, and I am sitting in tension right now with you guys. I already did before when I cleansed my deck, but I wanted to repeat it now because I always feel like it just gets strengthened when you guys know that too. That my intention is to find and to deliver and to convey whatever is most healing for you at this time, for the highest good of all involved. And I always say this, it's my little phrasing I always do at the end of any sort of divination thing: intention, to help, to heal, to love, and to serve. So let's see what they want to, Spirit wants to tell us for this new moon in Aries. The decks that I'm using, I was just about to start shuffling, but let me show you the decks real quick. First one's my old trusty. I just felt like bringing that one out again. Wisdom of the Oracle. It's hard for me to put this one away. Colette Baron Reed. She created that one. I'm sure these are familiar for some of you guys who've had Oracle decks for a while. This it says Alice the Wonderland Oracle, no N. Anyway, I'm not being snarky on that. Just made me pause when I read it. And it's by Lucy Cavendish with a C. And then the last one, which is my girl fanning here. I love Kim Kranz and her decks. And this is the archetype one, which still to this day is kicking my spiritual ass. I don't know what she was doing at that time. It was magical. So that deck really gets to me. So let me start with that one. Okay, got little diamonds. I love it. I usually try to chop it. Ooh, that one flew. Did y'all see that? This one flew. So let me look at it. Aw, it's so lovely. The prayer. Try to zoom it in. My ring light kind of makes everything so whited out. But okay, let me see if anything's gonna jump out. Whoa, there's another jumper. I'm gonna take the top one of it. Oh, here, I'll show you guys. What does it say? Thanatos. I always say these things wrong. It's probably backwards on screen, isn't it? Anyway. And then the last one I'm going to choose. I feel like choosing toward the top-ish. Oh, what is that? Gnosis? Gnosis? I think it's how you say it. Gnosis? Well, we'll see. Ooh, they give me some big heavies here. I don't know what's going on. Okay. We'll just look at that. So as I look at this, and y'all, forgive me, because as I'm getting to know her deck, this is not like I know all of these rando ones. Some of the other archetypes that are more well-known, I can kind of get that. I can get a little bit more quicker. But let me look. I mean, the prayer, I can go intuitively on this. This is the worship, the reverence, the homage. What is prayer when we are in a state of prayer and when we are not? When are we in a state of prayer? Sorry, is the question. I read these things so well. To whom or what do we pray? Archetypically, the practice of prayer has been with us since the dawn of time as a remedy for the omnipresent, self-centered thinking that spins us toward illusion. Oh, wow, that's kind of hitting me hard. Prayer leads us beyond our ego as we move from our little story to the big one. Some say that we are in a state of prayer anytime we are not in the center of our own thoughts. Others say prayer is a natural result of gratitude. Perhaps it's simply surrender or service. Whatever prayer is for you, this card reminds us of its importance. Get quiet, low, humble, and soft. Bow and touch the ground as your heart lifts to the sky. Though it may be uncomfortable, it is time. Nothing else will do. Man, I feel like this is kind of a repetitive feeling message, and I feel like it's a deep wound for all us humans. So it's just, I'm going to just repeat it. You know, how we look at why we're here, how we look at how we make choices in our life, who we spend time with, what tasks we're doing as our performing, you know, making a wage, earning a living here in the world, to what, you know, gives us life outside of that, you know, and our family structure, all these big things. Like, the prayer to me is just this belief within of being connected to source, to a grander plan. And in my Christian upbringing, there was never I do not remember for myself, okay? I don't remember for me any sort of discussion that, you know, we kind of came with a plan and certain soul lessons to come in here with, you know, to like, not achieve it. That sounds a little 3D-ish, like egocentric, but there are lessons that we came here to learn and to absorb energetically and work through and integrate and heal from. And you can think of it as, woe is me, I'm a victim, this is my life, my parent just died and I'm going to live in that sorrow forever. Or else you can kind of like get beyond that and see it as, I was blessed with this parent. What are all the lessons I had from this parent? And when you start moving into that healed perspective of like those particular like life wounds, like shit keeps happening to me stuff. Oh, I'm separate. I don't have a love romantic partner, you know, that wound, you know, which is really deep of really, it kind of boils down to love or fear, right? When we kind of think about things and when we're triggered. And so if that saddens you, it's kind of like, well, why is that saddening to me? Am I scared? Am I scared that I'll be alone? Am I scared that I'm not worthy of another love? Like, so, but when we kind of get to this point of realizing the underlying like issues, like the deep soul issues behind whatever it is in our life that's deeply sorrowful for us, we can look at it two ways. We can become the victim of it, or we rise above and kind of realize from a soul perspective, there is a bigger plan here. And I need to kind of connect with that soft, intuitive, soulful spot inside of me, my God self, that will lead me to evaluate what are these wounds here that I decided with this hardship to learn. And it's not a real, it's not something I want to tell someone fresh from grief. You know what I mean? Like, these aren't things that you, like, oh, God has a plan. Like, that kind of stuff is not something that the receiving of this message has to be with divine timing. You have to kind of be in a spot where you can kind of start dealing with it. And so if you're hearing this, maybe you're at that spot now of looking at some of these, I guess, irritants that are kind of in your energy, that are in your aura. And the moment I say that, I think of, and I have some great friends, and I say great friends, and I say precious. They were like more than that, you know, they're precious, and I'll start crying and I think about them. We had a little release ceremony on the beach, and I'm telling you, somehow during that discussion, the idea of like what is hurting us in our soul is really like a grain of sand, like with an oyster, and then ultimately we change that into a pearl. And that's that process. It's internal. It's soft. It's this internal prayer of like, I know you can show me God, like source, my ancestors, the, earth element, Mother Earth, whatever it is for you. Like we all have different names for the same like kind of connection that's really important that we connect with. Otherwise, you just are a victim to 3D stuff. Oh, woe is me. My bank account is low. Oh, and you feel stress. And then you just kind of like burn out your light. You burn out your life and you burn out your light, your soul's light. And I've seen people who've done that and they are not happy people. And I wish that they would kind of see it. But to see it, you have to get into this other perspective. And granted, I have been in there at times in my life. And I have to watch myself. This is kind of a continual thing about being in this human 3D and also taking yourself out of it. And this prayer work or this soft intuitiveness, this kind of, this brings it in. So there you go. There's the first card. And Thanos. I'll go to the Thanos one. Thanos. It says Thanatos, I think is how you say it. I might be totally mutilating it. Apparently, all my references are Marvel movies. I think they're Marvel movies. Anyway, I'm old enough to not be cool to get that right. So let me look at that one. LXX and 3. 63. We're almost there. I'm getting there, y'all. This is like a slow-moving train here today. Okay, so Thanatos, death. Ooh. Oh, fuck. Oh, excuse my language. This makes sense. So it's an ego death. It's like you no longer are in your perspective as your mind. Like we live our lives and no one talks about this changing of perspective. We all talk about soul like it's some idea, but we never really incorporate and live in it. And this death is a death to start living in it. Start pulling yourself more out into that soul perspective to look at what's going on in your life. Change how you see yourself. I talked about it in another reading. I think it was on here. Sorry, I do an oracle reading too in a astrological group, private, and it's just kind of I can't remember now if I said that message there or here. But the way you look at yourself needs to change, and your value and who you're connected to and seeing yourself as a divine being, like that is a wonderful daily practice to have like a walk around the block where you are like, I have God in me. I am that. Like I can call that soul, God, self. I can call it in to my like existence right now. And I feel connected. And you're out of the mental brain, which is like, oh, I got to go to the groceries. Oh gosh, wonder how my child's doing. And, you can how we stop working and ruminating on things. Or like, we get into offenses, we get into the ego shit. Oh, I bet how they're doing. I hate that person. That kind of shit happens on that level. That's not your God self talking. But this is like the ego death to be like, hey, I'm not on that train anymore. I'm not going there. I'm not going there as a automatic like state of being. I'm done with that. I'm pulling out. I'm pulling out to this internal, which feels like you're pulling out, but you're actually pulling out within. Like it's inside. It's like the deepest part of yourself, but it feels like you pull out to look at this big picture, to look at the soul perspective. Sometimes I have visually done a practice so I can kind of feel like my soul looking at me, like where I'm like almost like a viewpoint. Sorry, I'm looking at the video and got my hands outside of it, but like, how there's near-death experiences and they talk about being in a corner of like the ER room or the operating room and they hear things and they see, oh, my body was on the table and yada, yada. Like that kind of thing. But then like looking at me, looking down on myself and like kind of like feeling the energy and that perspective of my life and how am I approaching things and trying to see like how would a soul see how I'm doing my life right now? Am I in any karmic connections? I might have loving souls in my life, but they might be souls that cannot address their wounded state. And do I need to remove them from my life? And I'm not saying anything bad. I just mean like, I need to stop engaging. I need to pull back. I need to get out of that vortex of shite and and change my energy, change my life in big ways when you get rid of people that don't support you. But it's not a matter of like removing everybody either. Sometimes these are family members. It's like creating boundaries, and maybe those ideas, sorry, it's allergy season. Y'all are gonna be like itching my nose all through the video, but it could be creating boundaries. And this soul perspective moment might be like, yes, with your mother, you got to be able to stand in your power about how you feel you're connected to God. So when she talks about, you know, have you found a church? I can say, church no longer serves me. Those Pinocchio strings are done. There's no more Pinocchio guilt going on. Geppetto isn't back there anymore. You know, oh shit, I should feel guilty. You know, we're still looking. We might find one next week. No longer serves me, period. And I can say that and be done with it. At least I am. How they're gonna perceive it, they can pray for me, that's fine. But or you know, in terms of you know, all our relationships, right? Our work stuff, any of that. We can kind of look at that and try to get back into the soul perspective, which is a death. And it quite honestly is needed for us to, it's just spiritual evolution. I don't know how else to kind of go on that. And I didn't read it. Let me just kind of see here. It says witnessing the ending of another phase or stage that has deep consequences for the psyche. We are forever changed by Thanatos as it sweeps under its wings, making us relinquish control in every form. It leaves a mark of ash upon our heart, signifying we have touched the cusp of the underworld and will return to the land of the living eventually, with more compassion and wisdom to share. This capacity is needed in our world. One who has faced the annihilation of Thanatos can face anything. When this card appears, it signifies an initiation into the underworld. And what that means is you're going to be looking at wounds. But that's the scrapey, that's the cleanup work that, you know, when we kind of look as a soul, we're not here to kind of, we are sometimes, you know, just to enjoy life. That totally can happen. We are blessed. I think we have that. We can choose to see life as that, right? But as what comes with that, it's almost like the duality existence are going to be struggles. And it just is like, how are you going to go through them? I've said this before. I've had a dream, and it was a funny little dream. It was very vivid. I think this was, I think it was in 2020, but like beyond the, like maybe in the fall of 2020, something like that. And what my guide said to me is I had my guide next to me, and I was basically in a amphitheater, a Roman, you know, big stony kind of amphitheater. I'm great with adjectives here. And so we're sitting, and it's crowded with people. Like we're going to watch this raised stage, something going on. But on the raised stage was basically like, it looked like a gear of a clock or something, you know, on top of this stone raised center stage that's circular. And we were all like, you know, audience around it. And my guide, you know, basically kind of went like this and was like, no, watch this. And then the thing shifted, and it was as if the entire audience and everything, like the whole, like your seating moved, you know, 5 feet or went up and down. It was that kind of jostling. And as I look around, I was fine. Didn't even jostle. And I looked around, and I would see people that didn't jostle. And yes, things changed. Yes, it was dramatic. But it's all about how we perceive life and getting through it. And that is mastery of your spiritual and emotional and mental selves. That is part of it. And maybe even physical. I can just throw all of it in there. It all helps to give us balance and get through things while keeping our soul mission going and staying in alignment, in a high alignment with Source. So the last one, let's see what this is. Another Gnosis. I hope I'm saying that right. Let me go check it out. LXXV. So we've got a lot of them up here. And the kind of like, these are like big, like this is the section of archetypes that are like, it's not an archetype as it is like a big major energy. Oh, that's beautiful. Innermost knowing, mystic truth. And that's really pretty. I'm looking at the rainbow. I'm looking at it's almost like the snake that eats itself. I forget what they call it, but it's just like that cycle, like, right? True acknowledgement is not found in facts and figures and scholarly books on library shelves. Rather, gnosis points to the deep and timeless archetypal wisdom that rises from the felt experience of having touched the unknown with every one of the senses. Those who are drawn to gnosis find themselves in esoteric studies, likely involving mysticism, alchemy, healing, or perhaps science. Knowing is their calling. Not knowing is their job description. It's like, yeah, I feel that way. Not knowing is your job description. We're just looking, we're searching, right? Embrace it. No matter how far the alchemists take their studies, they come to the ultimate conclusion that facts slip toward mystery, and soon the mystery results in facts. This card signifies a knowing that life is changing. All right, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. This card signifies a knowing that is life-changing. This is a knowing that is life-changing. Once you experience, you are forever changed and become a guardian of gnosis. The eternal mystery is calling you. Study your passion in the deepest way available to you. And this is, when you're in light, when you're contemplating this energy, it says you're contemplating the mystery, unanswerable questions. So much, this is really like giving me like tingles on the top of my head from my crown chakra. So much of our soul's path is going to be unknown. But when things come, we can kind of be open to the lesson. It will come in time. Maybe it's not always the first thing that comes, understanding, really, truly. Some things are just like we have to just have faith to get through the waves of an emotional tempest. And then when they calm down and you're not repressing it, you're not doing all the low vibe responses to it, and you just kind of know, I'm still trusted, like this is a path and it's going to be shown to me. This is that, like you can kind of be open to exploring the question and knowing that so many of these questions sometimes just aren't known. It's hard to see the perspective from our 3D. As much as we meditate and levitate, sometimes it's just not going to be an answerable question. And why something bad happened. And I'm not saying that's always going to match up. And that's where kind of like, to me, my faith kind of pops in of, I can't have an existence that just thinks this is random, that thinks God has evil, part of that, like that source energy has evil. Like, no, I can't do that. I have divine light with that. Do I think there's existing of it? Yes, but my light, my divine light, my relationship, the energy that I am communicating with for my life, and as I manifest and work through this short human life, is good. And it wants to bring me good. And anything that comes, I'm able to handle it. And I may not be able to answer all the questions, but I can kind of live in that questionable state in love and peace and like inner peace. Because I know, like, I'm connected and I'm part of God. It's my God self. And I just don't, it's a community that once you belong to, once you kind of get this concept inside, you're forever changed. You just, and some people have had like crazy things happen in their lives and they're like, oh, I know there's a source. I know there's some benefic, energy or angels or whatever they call it, whatever a person calls it, like they helped me, save me from so many, like, this is crazy that this happened like this and I was saved, those kind of things. Or they've seen, paranormal things in 3D, people have that and they can easily believe and go into this trust. Some others can't. And I would kind of, even those who can't and have a resistance, look at why. That is a wound, and I don't really want to go into that one yet. Let me just be enough to like let you guys kind of spiritually chew on this yourselves. But it is inside. And it's a worthwhile process to look at our resistance to having a relationship with God and what is the source of that. And really kind of trying to maybe think that possibly your perspective is a little off on source and a little man-based. Like, these people did this to me, therefore God. That's a real limited, this is a hard thing to explain, but like, Here, like I said earlier, it's just something for you to mentally chew on. But it's beautiful. And this is a beautiful spot, I think, to be living life. Like, let that wheel of fortune change. You're going to jostle the world. You're going to be okay in it. Because I think we're still up for some jostling. We're going to be okay with this perspective, this soul perspective, and accepting that there are, like with our logic brains, there's not going to be complete answers to everything. And that's okay. And just try to be there in that acceptance of that. So those are those three. That felt a little heavy. I don't know if I explained all that well. I just feel like my communication's a little bit like odd lately. Maybe I just need more sleep because it's allergy central time out here, but thank you for listening to this, you guys. Okay, so for the next oracle on this message, let me see. Oh, you know, I was just thinking, let me just round this out into the Aries new moon. Aries is about our personal power. And so when we feel we are connected with source, and that's who our identification is, and our God self, like we're connected, we have power, we have all that, you know, intrinsic worth within us. Like we can initiate things with a clear intention, subconsciously and consciously, that brings better results for you, higher paths. So I always ask for like what's highest and best, right? But once I get how I'm doing energetically, like you receive what you are. So the clearer and the higher path that I can be and like really focus and know and like really know deeply that I'm connected with God, that just brings like such a foundation of much better, clearer energy to anything I do. And so anyway, just foundational little FYI there. So let me pull this for us for the new moon. What does it say? Changed in the night. You have changed quite quickly. Yeah, like this. Like those previous card, I can't remember which card it was. It was like once you didn't know this, like your perspective is forever changed. And it's a big jump. Once you realize you have this different perspective to like switch into for 3D things, people will be like, why are you so chill? Boy, why are you so happy? Like you're going to realize it was a world of shit that you were living in. And then suddenly the light is turned on and you're like, oh, I'm in the same, but it's like, I know that that's not my shit, or I know that's like shit that's just not even like, that's not who I am, but yes, it might be here in this room. You know, you have a different perspective. I'm seeing it. You're not going to be wrapped up. And a lot of this for me has been taking myself away from news channel and watching horror movies, to be honest, and other movies that have like peril stuff. I very much think about that energy in our society is in Hollywood, to be honest, just creates a lot of these panic movies and panic and horror. And you know, I just don't want to watch the 60-minute stuff about like murders, like on end. Like that is an energy that is like, gets into my little aura. I'm kind of sensitive to it. I've always been like, I've always gotten like, my heart can just race on any sort of like chase scene. There's like a limit to what type of movies I'll engage in. And sometimes I make mistakes and then I'm like, oh, I have horrible dreams and I regret it more. But I will say that there is a big improvement for me once I stopped watching any sort of news, like even the morning show news. I just kind of kept away from, quite honestly, any of it. I can explain myself more because I understand that it's good for election years and stuff like that to kind of like be in the news and watch things a little bit more to an extent. I know what is in my power and what isn't, and what is worth my energy and what isn't when it comes to taking on news. And because I think I've been an attorney, like I'm going to say it for what it is. And I've seen how things go in litigation and at the courthouse. I know very much that justice isn't always here. So there's just kind of like, I know that that's available and I've seen it so much. I don't need to kind of engage more of my mental energy and emotional energy outside of a certain amount of bandwidth. I don't want to start saturated in it. So I'll just say that. I'm throwing something out just for y'all to mentally chew on. Like, think about your news. Think about you checking your sites that you go to, all that stuff. Like, I'm feeling it too. Like, I need to trim some things out. So anyway, just want you to know. And then let's do this. Nonsense. It's time to talk sense. How interesting. Okay, I'm going to look that one up. 28. That's the only one I really don't know. Although that kind of makes me think, like, don't bullshit yourself. Well, sometimes, okay, let me see here. Courageously standing up for yourself when someone is behaving in a way that's silly and unfair, refusing to be cowed, pointing out a person's bad behavior, not backing down on the truth, looking someone in the eye, being very brave and strong and no longer intimidated, surprising yourself with your own power. So, okay. Well, once you do that analysis of, like I said, I think I said earlier about, you know, we just kind of know those relationships that are kind of not on the same vibe. And if they're not going to get out of their cycle of their own, like, misery, if they just want to be that negative person, if they just want to be that wounded person, if they just want to be that continually seeing offense where there is none intended, let them live and let them go. And you might need to help push them away with a sharp word in love, in truth, but it's going to feel sharp to you because you probably haven't done it before. It's not that sharp. I mean, some of you might be so repressed you might be sharp, so kind of watch that, but it might take that, a little bit of an effort. And the last one, Wisdom of the Oracle. Let me see if I can do one or two. Ooh, community. Okay, that popped out. Community. Sorry, I meant to, oops. Well, here, let me see if there's a third one. One fell just right there on my keyboard. Let me get it in a second. Okay, that was it. So this one is chaos and conflict. Lovely. Thank you, Spirit. It's like, give me some good news. Okay. This might cause some chaos in the next couple weeks. If you're getting the vibe about this stuff, especially, that makes sense too with, I mean, eclipse is about to start the end of April, isn't it? In May. And those are like fated endings, fated beginnings. So let them go. You know, it's okay. Get rid of it. If it's not your vibe, it's not you, it was them. And eventually you're going to see as you look back, oh, I see how that wound played out. I see how you start realizing some things about yourself with a little bit more time after you separate from this. And then your real community will come in. Because once we scrape the stuff that's not meant for us or not on our same level, and God bless them, but go away. Like once you scrape that away, you have now space for the right peeps. And they'll be there. And those ones that were already there that were good are going to get stronger. And that's what happens. So just flow with it. And know it's going to get better. And you deserve better. I think we're worthy of great relationships, like fun, energy, like, and then people who are vulnerable enough to be honest at looking at their own shit. It's nice to be with friends who do look at their own shit and are honest about it and then want to heal about it and even be like, you know, this is what I'm struggling. They're open and they're like there and they're like, you know, within boundaries and within the right boundaries. But that is just such a healing place to be versus those people that are just like cocked to the, I'm going to get pissed off and interpret whatever you say the most offensive way possible because they are just so miserable and they're not healed. And yeah, you ain't got time for that, man. It's a quick life. You ain't got time for it. And there's good people waiting to like fill that up. So there you go. There's my Aries message. I'm just like, get rid of them. So I hope you have a wonderful Aries season. It's going to go fast. I feel like this time frame is going to have some conflicts, but it's going to go fast. But yeah. And thanks for kind of like, just, I don't know. I appreciate anyone who listens to the readings. You know, intuitive work. It's not like I had everything all planned and ready. And got to take things that just kind of come in. And so whatever resonates for you, I hope there were some parcels of that were healing and helpful. And thank you so much for listening. All right, y'all, take care.